Hi everyone, today I thought I would have a go at this whole page picture. This is from the Miniature Enchanted Forest book, and this is rather a favourite of mine, and I think actually quite a few other people as well. And I thought I would have a go at colouring some of this. I'm not going to get it all done in one video, I think that will take too long and you'll all nod off to sleep. But I thought I would start off with the actual frog and just see how we go really. So I'm going to zoom in a little bit. I just kept it out so you could see. I think I might zoom in a fair bit actually, and then you'll be able to really see close up what I'm doing. So I'm going to start with his lovely little face. Now usually with the frog I do him in some sort of greens, and I tend to pick sort of olive green type colours, so these sorts of colours. Now these are the Staedtler Ergosoft. I'm going to be using these today because they're a bit smaller for these little details on this smaller book. So I'm going to start off with the number 57, which is the slightly darker pencil actually, and I'm just going to have a look at the face and think about where I think it would be slightly darker. So I would think to start with under here. Now I'm just very gently going to shade out a few areas. It might be quite light for you to see, but the idea is that if I do this first lightly, then I can think about whether I am happy before I go a bit harder, and if I go too hard and make a mistake, then obviously there's little I can do to correct it. So I'm thinking he might be a bit darker here. I'm saying he. I'm going to make this a boy frog. I have seen some very pretty versions of this picture with a girl frog with some sort of eyelashes or a little crown on. Beautiful. But I'm just going to keep it fairly straightforward. And now I'm looking at the shape of the head. You see, we've got the nose here, and I think that would be slightly raised. So I'm thinking that maybe that would be lighter here, and maybe it would then get darker towards, say, this part of the face. So I'm going to just do a sort of rough line here and just have a look. It's not very well coloured, and see whether when I look at it together, whether it seems to work. I'm thinking the top of the eye is going to catch the light, so it'll be a bit lighter, but the underside of the eyelid, would be darker. So I'm going to go in with some colour there, and I'm going to try and mirror this on this side, or else it's going to look terribly odd. So put some colour in here and sort of down to here. It's all a bit liney and rough at the minute, but that's okay. It looks quite yellowy in my camera, and actually I could probably zoom in a bit more for you. Oops, there he is, so you can see a little bit better. So I'm thinking we'll probably be lightest here and then slowly fade down to this colour. So I think if I go back over this with another layer and then lighten it up a little bit here so that I can blend in my lighter green in a moment. Now I'm also thinking the edges of the face I might do a little darker. I see Johanna's done us some little dots on the side, which to me always indicates that she thinks we should do a bit of shading. It may just be her doing some little fancy marks. Now you notice also that I'm ignoring these dots at the minute. I'm not going to ignore them all the time, but I'm going to go over them in a darker colour later. So I'm looking there and thinking, oops, we haven't done that eyelid. There we go. And now I'm going to grab the lighter one, which is the 56, and I'm going to blend the colour down. So I'm going to start in the middle, so that's the most saturated area and this is the least. I start somewhere in the middle and then add this colour. Now don't have to use exactly this same colour that I have, the same colours. The idea is thinking about the light and shade and how you would apply it. Now I'm thinking about this bit here. Now we've got the line comes up, can you see? So is that bit dented in or is it sticking out? This bit's sticking out, so I think maybe it's sticking out, but as I look at it, I think it's probably dented in a little. So we might go in with the darker colour in this middle part here. And then blend that out a little. So what I mean by blend that out is I lighten my touch, so then when I put the lighter green over it, it will mix together nicely. So hopefully I'm going back in now with the lighter green and just mixing it in together. And have a look and see, and I think that's worked. It's still quite subtle. At the moment, that's how I want it to remain. I want to just get the overall feel before I layer the colour up hard. It can stay subtle anyway. Now on the top of here, I think it really would be catching a lot of light, so I'm not going to put any green there. This is quite an even amount of green here. I'm just getting a layer of colour down. I'm thinking we might have a dark area under the eye, so I'll do that in a minute. Excuse me, I'm avoiding that centre area where the raised nose is. I'm going to, it's a bit trickier, so I'm just doing this bit here where I'm just doing an even layer of green over this sort of cheek area, I suppose, and taking it up and just leaving that bit. I'm going to do a different colour there, and here I'm just going to add gentle layer towards the centre and leave a little gap in the middle, and I'm going to grab this one, which is number 10, to do a lighter bit on the top of here and here and in this middle here. Okay, now we've got to think about the lips. Now I'm thinking these lower ones, they might be shadowed by the top of the mouth if it slightly overhangs, and also this bit, they would be slightly underneath, so I'm thinking they might be darkish, but this one being lower might catch the light, whereas this one's less likely to. So I'm starting with my darker green, which is the 57 here, and I'm going in quite dark. You can see that that's darker than I've used on any part of the frog yet, and I'm going to take it up and then I'm going to leave it there. With this bottom lip, I'm going to do a much lighter coat of that because I want it to be lighter in colour. Oh, excuse me, I wipe my nose. And then here, I'm not going to go over the top of this dark. I'm going to go here where it's a bit lighter and take that all the way up, because this is quite a heavy layer, but you can see how it sort of fades up a little bit. And this one is going to be a lighter layer like that, and we shall do a little bit of the yellow, remember the number 10, and pop that in the middle. Now I'm going to come back in with my darkest green, which is the number 57, and top up some highlights and things, because at the moment he's quite pale. So I feel confident with what I've done. I'm happy with the light and shade that I've created. You will have to, if you're doing this, you have a look and think. You might disagree with what I did and prefer to have your highlights and lowlights, I suppose, in different areas. So it's a very personal thing, I think, in some ways. Like, you might have felt that that shouldn't have been dented in, it should have been sticking out. You might want that yellow, that sort of thing. So as I say, it's a very personal thing. So I'm just going around now on top of the areas that I did before. And here. I love this little frog. I've done him quite a lot of times. I've done him coloured him in the main book. I've done 2 versions of him in the main book because I've got 2 copies. One I finished and one that I'm working on at the minute, which is exciting because I'm coming close to finishing it. and I'm going to do a flip through of that when I've finished. See, what I am trying to do is to soften the edges so we don't have a really obvious change from one colour to the other. Now I'm going in with my lighter green, which is the 56. I'm going to add a heavier amount of colour here. But anyway, so I've done a couple of versions of him. I'm sure I've done him elsewhere as well. He's such a lovely little fellow, and I've seen him done so many times by different people too. I think a lot of people really like this particular picture, which is why part of the reason I chose it, because I like it and I know other people like it too, because there are a lot of pictures in this little mini book that I had a look at. I was flicking through, you know, what should I do for you, which picture should I do, and some of them were rather daunting, I have to say, in the small detail. So I will do them all eventually. I'm sure not all necessarily on video, but when I complete it I will do a flip through so you can see, but it will be a long time, I suspect, until I finish this book. I'm actually also working on Miniature Secret Garden, which again, some of the pictures for me are a little daunting, but I'm finding it relaxing and fun. I've got it by my bed and have a little go each night to do a little bit, which is great fun. I'm going to darken up this with this one as well. Now I need to go in with my yellow, which again is the number 10, just to remind you, and it's really sharp, this one. I think it's going to snap if I'm not careful. Now with this yellow, it's very vibrant, it's lovely. You could go over the whole thing in yellow to sort of make all the greens more vibrant. There we go. And I'm going to get some more colour down there. There we are. Now we've got all these little circles on his face, and we've also got circles here and here and here. And what I usually do when I do Mr. Frog is I tie in all these colours. So I use the same colour for his face and body, and then tie in all these dot colours with something else. And I think I'm going to do that this time. So I'm going to leave them for now, move on to the body part and show you that, and then we'll think about pencil sharpening on the book. We'll think about what we're doing with the rest after. So I'm going to start again with the body with my darkest green, which is the 57, and here is where I start, because Johanna's drawn these lines which indicates there's some shadow, which there would be from his lovely face. So, but I'm going to fade that down like that. Do you see, just doing a gentle stroke? You don't have to do the same stroke movement. You can do a round and round movement if it comes more naturally to you. I tend to just follow what I think works for the direction of the page, but that doesn't always work for everyone. Now we've got this bit here, this tummy bit. Now what I think I'm going to do is, with this part here, I'm going to use the lighter green and some yellow here just to give it some interest. So in here I don't want to do the same thing, so I'm actually going to go around here with this dark green on the edge. Gosh, my stomach just grumbled then. I don't know if the camera picked it up, the sound. I've had my lunch as well. I don't know. So this video goes out in the morning. You might think I'm waiting for my breakfast, but actually it's after lunch. And I'm going to still do a fairly dark layer here. So I want a fair bit of dark. Ooh, that wasn't a good angle. I could feel it putting pressure on the lead. It was bending a bit too much. So you see I'm doing some little circles just to bring it forward. I think what I've decided as I was colouring and chatting is I'm going to keep the dark through these because it's easier, and around the edges, and then maybe have a lighter area just in the middle here. I think if I keep a dark pressure, a harder pressure, and it's darker through here, I find it easier personally to get a more even tone than trying to shade it through a tiny area. If this was the bigger frog in the other book, it would probably be easier to do it. I'm just checking you can see I've been colouring away, not checking that it's in view, but it is. So I'm trying to make it even. I'm not always that good at getting the pressure exactly right, but we'll see how it goes. Now, I don't know how many of you have got this little book, but obviously you can use these sorts of techniques for other animals. Johanna has some in her lost ocean. There's lots of fish, not many frogs, but you can always use the ideas in other things, I think. I hope anyway. Now these sort of circly bits, I think they look like frog spawn, but I'm sure frogs don't carry their spawn under their neck. But I think Johanna would know better than me, I don't know. It might just be a pattern. And I think it might just be a pattern. But we're going to do the colour of those the same as the face. I'm pointing up there, you can't see. The same as the dots on the face and the same as the dots on the leg and the arms, just to keep a colour palette that isn't too diverse. I think if we go for every colour in the box, it can sometimes look a bit muddled. I seem to have managed to put this colour everywhere. Have you noticed that while I'm chattering? But what I am going to do is grab the 56 and go into this central area and tidy it up, I hope, and lighten the colour a little bit. So you see I'm doing a round and round movement to try to bring in, to try to cover all the space where it was a bit messy. And you could use some blending solution. What I find, to talk to you about blending solution, it might be useful. I use Staedtler blending solution. It's the only one I've tried, apart from the Derwent blending pens. They run out really quickly, which is why I sort of don't use them much. Because mine have run out, I didn't buy any more. They are good, I'm not saying they're not. And what I'm going to do is do this bit while I've got this pencil in my hand too. What I find with blending solution is that if it's messy colouring to start with, you know, if you have sort of got a lot of direction or hard in one direction, you can't eliminate that with a blending solution. What the blending solution does, I find, is if you've got some white paper showing, then it will move into that. It will move the pencil into that space, so it's rather nice and helps to mix colours together. As I say, if it's a bit scruffy, I find it isn't enough to rescue the picture. And I'm going in with the yellow at the bottom, as I explained my plan earlier. Now you notice this layer, I'm not going really lightly and gently like I did with the face. That's because I'm more confident that this is going to work. So I'm just going all in with a heavy layer. But if you feel less confident, build the layers up. Also be careful with your book. If you push hard, you can push through the paper and spoil the book. Now this book, if you've got this specific book, the paper's lovely, and I think it would take an awful lot of pressure to spoil it. But if you've got the original number 57, Enchanted Forest, I'm going to do all these little bits just in a darker green. Some of the earlier printings, the paper isn't so forgiving. At the moment, the version I'm colouring is a 2015 version, and I can't use pen because it goes through. I used some fine liners on one page actually, and they didn't go through, but unfortunately I dripped a bit of my cup of tea on the page, as you do, and it took the pen through with it. So I've got a missing drip of pen, but I coloured that page just recently, and I'm just going to zoom out a little bit so you can see, whoa, wrong way, so you can see all the legs. But I managed to rescue it. When I coloured over it, I used a dark colour and it hid it, which was good. So with the legs, the light's going to be catching here, Yeah, it's really high up on the leg. So we're going to have a bright yellow here, a less down here, and the darkest at the bottom. I have heard that some of you find it easier to start with a lighter colour when you're doing a transition from one, you know, from either dark to light or light to dark. You find it easy to start with light. Now, I personally prefer dark, and you would notice that I do that. I usually start with the darkest colour. One of my reasons for that is when I first started colouring, I found that when I put down yellow or white, if I was really heavy-handed, it would, I'm just lightening it up here, look. I've also noticed this is within this boundary. I think I'm going to ignore it and just colour over it because it's small. Sorry, what I noticed was that if I used yellow or white and I was heavy-handed, it would almost act like a wax crayon. I'm trying to explain it, it's quite difficult. You know when you are little and you scribble with wax crayons all over a piece of paper and then you paint over it, and the wax crayon, the paint, it resists the crayon, and so you have a pattern underneath? Well, I found that the white and yellow pencils used to do that. So if I'd started with white or yellow, it would block so that I couldn't put down any other pencil at all. So it would sort of stop me from being able to blend that in. So I decided to always use the lighter colours last, and then because the dark colours didn't seem to do that. And I don't know whether that was just the brand of pencil I was using, which was most likely to be these, because I started off with Ergosoft. I did move on to polychromos quite quickly. And I actually used, before I got a white pen to do highlights, I actually used to use the white. So if I had a berry, let's say this is a berry, and I wanted to shine here, I would get my white pencil and do a really hard mark there. And then when I coloured the berry, it would resist where that white mark was, and it would look like there was a bit of a shine. But these days I find using a gel pen, a white gel pen, is better. And I'm going to try some different ones. I watched Colour with Claire's video where she reviewed the Arteza white gel pens, and they look so good that I'm tempted to have a go myself. This is the number 56. I'm just going to continue shading up. It's quite simple, the arms and legs. I'm not doing anything too fancy. But for Christmas I got the 3 set of Sakura white jelly roll pens. So I don't really need any more at the minute. And these have got 3 different nib sizes. They've got a 0.5, a 0.8 and a 1, I think, and is that right? I don't know. The 0.5, definitely 0.5, is a little small. It's great for teeny tiny detailing, which, you know, is probably needed in this sort of book. Now before I do the yellow layer, I'm going to go back in with my darker green and do a little bit of shadow here. There would be shadow here, and I'm just going to put down a hard layer, but I'm going to reduce that as we go up here, so it's not quite so dark, or else it's going to look a little odd because this bit's lighter. So yes, the 0.5 blocks a little bit, and you have to keep scribbling it, which is okay. And now I'm going to go in with my yellow, which, remember, is the number 10. And the 0.8 is okay, it blocks occasionally, but the 1 is a lovely big nib and it doesn't block, but I find it can be a bit splattery. So if you shake it around, a bit like with the Posca pens, it can splatter paint on your picture, which is not ideal. Just have to be careful and not clumsy. I'm sure most of you are much better than me at looking after your work and not splattering around. I'm not really very neat, I don't think. Certainly can't stay in the lines, that's for sure. Right, I'm happy with his body now, but we need to do all these dots and splodges and things, and so colouring for them, I'm having a look at my set, and I'm going to go for a couple of browns. I'm going to use, this is the darkest of the orangey browns, which is number 73, and then 76 is the browny brown. I hope you know what I mean. So I'm going to start with his face, and I'm going to, now on his face, these circles, they've got a tiny circle in the middle, which potentially could do with the other brown colour, but I'm not, because it's just small. I'm just going to do this brown on his face. I'm also thinking at the moment, I'm just checking you can see, what I'm going to do with the eyes, because we've got to do those as well. Now I'm going to do most of the circles and dots just in this colour. I don't think we need it to be really too dark. Oh, I think it's quite cute. And under the neck here we do all these circles. Now you could do each one separately like this, or you could just go over them as a big bunch. Depends on how good your eyesight is and how patient you are and how sharp your pencil is, really. I'm just trying to do each one separately. I think if I wasn't filming this I probably wouldn't. I'd probably rush it. But there's always pressure to make it look nicer when I'm on camera, which is really good for me because it means I produce better work. So that's good. So now with these little dots you could get your white pen and do a little highlight on each one if you wanted to. Make them look like they're sparkly, whatever they might be. I think they're part of his skin, so I think therefore they probably wouldn't be sparkly. There might be a little bit of shine on the skin, especially if it was wet, but and some frogs just have really shiny skin. I love looking at little frogs. We sometimes go to the Wildfowl and Wetlands Trust at Slimbridge, which is near to where we live, and go and look at the little frogs there. Lovely. I like the poison dart frogs the best, but they're really shiny. Okay, now legs the same. So again, just ignoring those circles. So although Johanna has drawn these beautiful details, we can still see them. We don't have to colour them different colours. We can just let them show through. I'm pretty sure I've done Mr. Frog on some of the, I might just pop it up a bit, because when I get to the feet, I'm going to forget that you can't see. There we go. I think I might have done this on the daily calendar page, something like that. Now with the flowers and dragonflies, let me see how long we can go. We definitely won't have time to fit that into this video, but with those I need to think about whether I want to do them all the same, have a slightly limited palette, so you could do purples and pinks or oranges and yellows, or do them all one colour. You know, there's lots of options out there, and it's just a matter of thinking what's going to work. We've got the lily pad to do as well, which will again won't do today. Now these I'm going to do the centre, and I'm going to use that dark brown. I haven't done arms. Oh, now I'm going back and forth. Sorry, I just thought I'm going to forget this bit. So that bit's going to be dark brown, and I'm not shading these. You notice it's just a layer of colour because it's not very big, and I don't think it's going to make that much of a difference to the impact. Now I always think this bit of his tummy always looks a bit like a bib. So some children shouting outside. Must be preschool children out and about in the sunshine. And then the same, oops, that pencil's extra sharp on that a little bit. The same on this side here. So I'm getting really excited about Johanna's new book coming out. I expect everyone is really. I know there are a few people who aren't so keen on the buildings and the big spaces and feel it's not quite their thing, but I think most people are really looking forward to it. There are some particular pages that I think look really good, but what I tend to do, I find the pages that I like the look of the most, I tend not to colour right away. I get a bit sort of almost nervous about doing my favourites first because I might mess them up, and so I tend to find something that's a little bit simpler. I aim to do some videos with some of the pictures. Some of the pages have little things on, so that'll be good. I know Johanna's been doing the ticket page in her tutorials, which was the one I was planning on doing, but I might not now as she's done it. So next, a brown, a number 76, and I'm going to do this edge. I'm not going to press really hard. I don't want it really dark, but I want it a different shade, so actually I'm pressing quite lightly. But there is the and the houses and the bottles page she's done as well. There's the one with about 12 or 15 pictures that was in Flourish. I'm certainly going to do that page on the ones that are different because she's changed a few of them. I noticed there's a tent and a few other ones that are different, so I should definitely do those. And then I might just do bits and pieces of pages like I do sometimes to help you out with ideas. So we'll see, but it's very exciting. I have to admit, I've ordered 2 copies. I've got one on order from Amazon, but because they were so late in delivering this book, where I actually ended up cancelling my order and buying from Waterstones, I've got one on order from Waterstones as well. My husband wants a copy because he likes buildings, so I'm going to have the first one that arrives and he's going to have the second. He doesn't know that yet, but that's the way it's going to be, because he won't get round to doing it very quickly and I want to start as soon as it arrives. And what page do you all start on? I had someone ask me the other day saying, what page should I start on in my book? I always start on the sort of this book belongs to page, because it feels like the right place to start, and it's smaller and easier. Eyes. I've got no idea what colour Frog's eyes are, whether they're always the same colour or not, so I'm just going to experiment and see what happens. I'm going to start with number 76. I happen to have it in my hand, and I want to do a darker bit here. Actually, you can't really see it because of the black part of the eye. Maybe I should do that around the edge. I'll do a darker bit around the edge instead. There we go. Sorry, I'm concentrating. I had to stop talking. And then I'm going to use the 73 to go inside. I'm just going to go inside that bit and then think about whether I feel it should have a bit of a lighter colour. I think it should do a bit of a progression of colour. I'm going to grab another colour. Oops, didn't want me to pick it up. Number 16, and just finish off with 16. And hopefully add some brightness. Now try not to colour over the white bit that's left in the black, because that adds real character to the frog. So there we go. I'm going to end there because it's been quite a long video. I'll just zoom out a little bit, out a little bit for you so you can see. And there he is. There's our finished frog. And my next video I will do lily pad and maybe some flowers. Okay, thank you very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video, and happy colouring.